You know what?
We'll just
This is strangely apropos given the subject matter of this wonderful book, the
we're
duality of
just
woman
gonna
and
go
man.
with it. Yeah, exactly.
I'm going to jump right into it since we're here and we've been
Let's
waiting
do
this
it.
long.
We are here.
Well, welcome to How the Arts Were Won. It's a wonderful episode today. Per usual, every episode's wonderful. Each episode more wonderful than the last, one would say. Right, Michelle?
Yes, one would cautiously say.
It's a very aggressive statement of mine. But we are here with author Melissa Duge Spiers, who will say hello now.
Hello. Thank you guys for having me. We had some scheduling issues and it's so
We
exciting.
did.
Well, here we
It's
are.
the jankiest opening.
Here we are.
Our fans love it. I will say our last episode was the most listened to episode, actually the third most listened to episode out of all the Pipeline Artists podcasts, and our most listened to episode, number one for How the Arts Were Won.
Yeah.
So we have to
Oh
beat
my
it.
gosh.
At this for a while.
We're gonna
Yeah.
break that record. We're gonna do it.
Yes.
We are. Melissa was a Book Pipeline unpublished winner of, I won't say the year, it was several years ago. I won't date her in that way. But she won with a book, which is now called Holy Disobedience. It is a memoir. Melissa, give us a 10-second rundown of your background. I usually read a bio, but this transcends all bios because your story is so legitimately fascinating. And I'm going to get into what I loved about the book in a sec. But
Oh, good. So I am a fourth generation ex-Seventh-day Adventist, which is a very strict fundamentalist Christian religion cult. And my father had been a pastor, and I discovered in midlife that he had been a child abuser as a pastor. And I ended up kind of tracking the religious programming through my entire life, even though I had left the church early. And I ended up befriending my father's victim, who helped me recover from all of that. And that's what the book's about in a tiny nutshell.
in a tiny nutshell, yes. Look, I'm
In a
almost done
tiny
with that.
nutshell.
I am almost done with it. I did not finish it in time for this podcast. Nevertheless, two things. One, it is remarkably well written. Like most memoirs that are published, that are out there, that I've kind of breezed through, a little dull, a little too journalistic in a way. This one is written with such detailed honesty. Well, my first question on that actually is how much of the blanks have you been filling in? Because this is such a broad telling of your life from childhood to adulthood, right? How much did you kind of have to fill in, or how much did you actually remember in such vivid detail?
It's amazing how sort of mirroring the structure of how it's written, I have really vivid recall of certain things, which I tried to really just give in a visceral way. That was part of trying to structure it, was kind of arguing with my publisher about wanting to have things in present tense, because I remember them that way, just like this is happening. But then I also needed to have, so originally I had structured it with a present tense chapter, a kind of fill-in expository chapter that like moved the story along, you know, and then a present tense chapter of just emotional download in the moment thing. And then again, some exposit. And that didn't work, at least for my publisher. So we kind of ended up just smoothing that down and mixing it in chapters equally. But most of that really present tense recall is didn't have to be filled in. It was still there.
That's when you're writing this, though, is that bringing up trauma? I'm going to say trauma, but trauma, or is it kind of a release, or is it a little mix of both, depending on the story that you are currently writing about?
Yeah, it's definitely a mix of both. Some of the chapters, like I still have a really hard time. Like when I had to read the audio book, I had some chapters where I just put it off and put it off and put it off because I just didn't want to go there. Like that material's still so fresh. The trauma just feels real, even if it was childhood chapters. Certainly, of course, there's healing with getting it out there. There's also a lot of healing with now hearing from readers that they identify with it. That really helps me kind of put the trauma aside in a way of like, okay, it was helping not only me, but others. But there's still a lot of ouch. still a lot of ouch.
I would imagine so.
Yeah, I'm amazed. So you actually read the audiobook yourself?
I did.
Wow.
I had been an actor a little bit when I was young. I was a terrible actor, absolutely horrible. But I enjoy doing that kind of stuff. And I was still on the fence about reading it. And my editor said, give it a try. If it doesn't work, we can always get a reader to do it. And I ended up really loving it. And now I love the idea that just somewhere out there, I'm reading my story in someone's ear. Like, that's such a personal connection.
Yeah.
That is.
It's such an intimate, like, relationship with a reader one-on-one that you don't even get with just a written book. So it's very cool. I'm glad I did it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Wow. So I'm curious. We've never had a memoirist on the podcast. We've never had a memoirist, essayist, but you're also a screenwriter. So would you say, I mean, I'm sure I know the answer to this, but, you know, how did your screenwriting skills and your, you know, understanding of story really play into your memoir? And I mean, as Matt said, it's better than a lot of the memoirs he's read. So
Well, it's for that exact reason. It feels so cinematic.
Cinematic, exactly.
Yeah.
I really would love to see it on the screen. People have asked me, why don't you write a screenplay out of it? Why don't you? I'm not the person to write the screenplay. I'm too close to, like, I can't see myself as a character, you know, like writing the book, I was still in my head and it was me on the page. But the screenplaying of it would need to be somebody else who could see myself as a character. But screenplay writing did really help me. So I originally wrote, before I won Book Pipeline, like 15 years before that, I had written a draft of the memoir. And then I set it aside. I picked up screenwriting, and that's where I really learned structure of story, structure of characters, arc, and all that stuff, you know, the 3-act, all of that stuff. Yep. And when I picked the memoir back up after I won Book Pipeline, I realized that it had not had good structure. I had been writing it sort of still from the middle of the story, and it didn't have the high of the arc and then the climax in the end. And I was like, oh my gosh. See, I still get goosebumps thinking about it. I thought, okay, I have lived the structure now. God damn it. Right. As much as that sucks. Now I've got a story. But, you know, it took me a lot of really studying structure to kind of see what it was.
For sure. So that's a long process for you then, because you said 15 years ago. So you've been, that must have been just such a, you know, I don't know if it was, it's kind of weird to say it's a dream come true to have your memoir about, you know, trauma, like be published finally. But I mean, how did you feel like when you finally signed that contract and all of that?
You know, I was terrified. Of course, I think any memoirist is just absolutely terrified. You're terrified people are going to sue you. You're terrified you're going to hurt people's feelings. You're terrified people are going to make fun of you or not connect, that you're just going to be this weird freak and everybody's going to be like, okay, this book is like ridiculous. Who lives like that? Who is that person? And so you're just so scared, but it was so vindicating also, obviously. And, you know, I'd been a writer all my life. I'd been an English major in college, etc. And I never thought I had any stories to tell, certainly not personally. Like I wrote magazine articles, I wrote profiles of other people, and I thought that was just kind of my role in life. And then when I started screenwriting, I was like, oh, okay, I think I can make stories up now. I think that's good. But I wouldn't have told you there was anything interesting about my life, you know, until
Which is so fascinating because it's the most interesting memoir. I mean, it legitimately is. There's so many people that submit memoirs that I've read that are unpublished. And it's like, okay, you dealt with this and that. Other people have kind of done this. No one I know has gone through this specifically with the Seventh-day Adventist Church as it is. Yeah. Did you, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I've been waiting to get to this question.
Yes, go for it.
Did you get any pushback from the church itself, from friends that you've had who are still in the church and so forth?
You know, the church is known to be extremely litigious. In fact, that's I pitched the book for about a year and I had a lot of refusals from big publishers who were just like, we're not going to take this on because of the legal side, you know?
So they shut it down because they didn't want to deal with the fallout.
Yeah. And a lot of them were really upfront. There was always, it got to be a joke between my agent and I about like, they all started with love the writing, beautiful writing, but, you know, and then they go into like scared of the church, or, you know, don't think that religious trauma memoirs will sell very well, or, you know, whatever it was. And, but having said that and being really terrified, the church has not given me any official pushback. I've certainly heard from people that I grew up with who are still in the church or whatever, who are angry as hell. I get a lot of pushback on social media from Adventist defenders that are just violently angry. But I expected that, you know, I mean, it's a high control cult religion. I mean, they're in it to win it. If they admit that there's anything wrong with their church, their whole world crumbles. So, you know.
Are they saying that you're lying about it? Or are they saying like, well, that was just your experience and isn't representative of the whole church? Both.
Oh. They say, a lot of them say that I wasn't a real Adventist and I didn't experience real Adventism and I was never, you know, religious and blah, blah, blah. But they also say that's just in your family, you know, which is not true. My whole social media presence is talking about abuse in the Adventist church in general, you know, thousands and thousands of examples, but they can't handle that truth. They just can't. So it's easy to focus on me because I'm the only visible public ex-Adventist and say, you're the problem.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's to be expected. And to an extent, all publicity is good publicity, right? So,
well, yes, the more backlash you get, the bigger your profile. We're seeing it. Completely separate topic. But if you're listening to this in the present day, the whole art director on the movie Obsession is getting, anyway, I won't even open up that conversation. That's a whole other podcast, Michelle. We should dig into it. About, she said the very weak, okay. She's like, I don't want to talk about this.
I'm like, sure, whatever you want, Matt.
But no, sometimes the controversy works in your favor as long as they're not getting violently rude about it.
Yeah.
Going back to like the publishers that were rejecting it, what made you kind of strike off and just go with a smaller press?
We ended up having, my agent and I, a really bad experience with a big 5 publisher who said he wanted it. He said he was going to sign it, said he loved it, blah, 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 all the things. And then he sat on it for months and months and months, literally 7 months he sat on it. And she and I would both ping him all the time. And I slowly realized that he hadn't even read it. Like I would try to talk to him about things and he hadn't read it. And so the whole thing was so weird. And at the end of the 7 months, he ended up saying that he that he was rejecting it. He wasn't going to sign it after all. He, by the way, had ties to the Seventh-day Adventist Church. So I do really, really wonder about that. But I asked my agent afterward, I said, you know, this is my first rodeo, really. Like, is this usual? And she said, absolutely not. That is the first time I've ever seen this, ever heard of this. It's so weird. I can't explain it. And we were about at the end of the people that we wanted to pitch to anyway in the big 5. So I went with Lake Drive Books, a small press who I know had published Krista Brown's Baptist Land, which had taken on the Southern Baptist Convention. And so I knew they weren't afraid. I knew David Morris was not afraid of big churches and scary stuff. And I knew that he appreciated that there was a market. So I was open to talking to him and we just clicked. You know, he didn't, I mean, you guys have read the book. It's pretty raw and there's a lot of stuff in it, you know, that a lot
there certainly is. Let me add.
There's a lot that people, even when I was talking to a couple of the big 5 publishers and we were really getting into like, maybe we'll sign or not, a lot of them wanted me to tone it down. And, you know, kind of smooth it over. And maybe you don't want to quite go there. But yes, I did, you know, and I knew that. And he never once put the brakes on me. So it was a great publishing. And he's such a mild, wonderful guy that I really hand it to him because I do wonder how much that made him lose sleep at night. But he decided to make that artistic choice anyway, and bless him, you know.
Yeah, and I think the hurdle with a lot of casual readers in memoirs is that the topic, not to like commercialize the like the perception of memoirs, but like it has to be interesting. It has to appeal to a reader who doesn't really know that particular world, right? And it
Yeah.
has to be something that peels back the curtain in such a way that feels both, again, I hate to say entertaining, but also
Right.
informative. I think this balances it perfectly. I'm biased because you won Book Pipeline, but also like if it wasn't a good book, I wouldn't have you on the podcast. So I'm not that biased.
He's got great taste.
Yeah.
Very critical.
All of our winners are great though.
Well, and
it
a
just,
lot of my friends who were my beta readers said that I still smoothed too much out, that I went too easy on certain people, certain characters, etc. But those are choices that you make sometimes to protect, like I wanted to protect my children. So I didn't go,
Sure.
I didn't reveal a lot of, so there was even more shit that isn't in there.
Well, I was at the book event briefly, a month or so ago.
Yes.
And I met your two children.
Yes.
Who were like, we're not reading this book.
Yep.
And that is their choice, I'm sure.
Wise, probably.
Was that surprising to you, by the way, or were you like,
it really wasn't. I think it's a great move. I did say to them, like I said, you may just want to consider if any of your friends read it and they come to you with details and you don't know that detail, maybe that will be something you might want to consider. And they were like, Mom, do we really not know too many of the details? And I was like, no, not really. I mean, they lived so much of it that they were just like, we don't need to go through it again. And I was like, good choice, good choice. Yeah. My sister also has still not read it. And she's a huge part of the book, but that was her choice also. Like she didn't want to go there.
Yeah.
Right.
I have two things, but I guess the first one is probably pretty easy. In the process of, going to publishers and things like that, and especially US based publishers, did you guys ever consider going to any publishers outside of the US? Was there ever a possibility of going to like UK publishers or,
we really never did, which I did try to present in my proposal as this could easily go international because the Adventist church is actually bigger outside the United States at this point, all over the world. So we could have done that, but for some reason we didn't. So
okay, interesting. Okay, and then my other question is, I don't know anything about writing memoirs at all, especially when it's a memoir that's such a personal story and it is so rich and detailed and all of that. Like, what's your follow-up to that? Is there a follow-up to that?
I have a memoir number 2 ready to go.
Do you?
So, yeah.
She rejoined the church. No, she didn't. What a twist.
For investigation purposes.
Yeah. Holy obedience.
I don't
Unholy obedience.
Right. There you go.
There you
Sorry,
go.
we're giving you bad ideas.
Yeah, don't listen to us.
I don't know, Matt, if you've gotten to the point where Jesse comes in toward the end, but I have a memoir number 2 tentatively titled Lies Wide Shut. And it's focused more on that relationship and the narcissistic and relationship abuse that I went through, that the church kind of primed me for, that just like set me up to be the perfect victim of that kind of relationship abuse. And so I've got a private investigator on board. I've got a psychologist on board. It's going to be, I'm excited about that one.
That's so cool.
I ended up having way too many chapters there toward the end in Holy Disobedience because they were fresh. They had just happened a few years previous. And so I had just written and written and written and written. And David, very wisely, my publisher editor, said, you know what, this is starting to become a book about that. And we're not, we want to come back to our wonderful arc here. You need to take a bunch of chapters out there at the end. And it was the right thing to do. And it was total wisdom. But I was like, but I love those chapters. They need to see the light of day. So I just put them all in a document, and they are now going to be memoir number 2 eventually.
That
I love it.
Is really exciting. Are you going to narrate that one too?
I will. Yes.
That's very cool.
I still can't really wrap my head around the fact that you still have a relationship with your parents.
Yes.
So
how?
Touch upon that one.
Yeah.
If you may.
Yeah. And that is, I have gotten some backlash for that. Of course, people say I went too easy on them, both in my life.
Which is
and
not what I'm saying, by the way. I'm just very curious. I think it's such a mental hurdle to get yourself through that and to be like the bigger person here. And I just think it's
they know that you wrote this memoir, right? Or they don't?
Sure they do.
Ooh, well,
do they not know that you wrote the memoir?
They are both, like, my mom has Alzheimer's now, and so I never actually presented it to her because, first of all, she's such a victim of a lot of it in her own right that I thought, in that mental loop state that Alzheimer's is in, she's just going to be re-traumatized by it over and over, and she'll never understand it, So I did not actually present it to my mom. And when I presented it to my dad, which was only a couple of months before the book was published, I told him, it was his responsibility to protect her from it, since he hadn't protected her from it multiple times over in our lives. And it's interesting. I hadn't ever told him up until that point that I had found and befriended his first victim. And as soon as he heard me say her name, I could see it change in him. And he immediately just wanted to justify himself and talk about that situation. And I still to this day don't know if he really absorbed what I was saying was I wrote a book about this and it's coming out, because it just threw him into that loop. So
interesting.
We don't have a close relationship, clearly.
Yeah.
It's more of, my sister and I say it's more kind of like just an acquaintanceship. So it's always been a don't ask, don't tell situation in our family on all sides, with even the greater family. So we exist without talking about it. But
you know what? I condone the don't ask, don't tell, because sometimes that's just the easier way, I guess. But sometimes it's just the better way. You don't have to. Yeah. Not everything has to be acknowledged and hashed out, because it's not going to go how you want it to end anyway, right?
Right.
That's it. It's really not. And I think particularly, if all of this had come up much earlier in my life, it might have been different. But I can't emphasize how bizarre it is to go all your life, until I was almost 40 practically, thinking that my mom was the bad guy and my dad was the good guy. And then to have that flipped so dramatically and so bizarrely. And my mom did really torture us, there's no question, but I see now why she did it. And she did it because she was so terrified that every man in the world was going to turn out being my father, right? If my dad could be preying on young teenagers, every man could. And so, she controlled us so tightly that we could not live. Yeah. But she succeeded. We were not molested by random men, So my poor mom, she did the best that she could to guard us against the biggest threat she knew. And it made our lives total hell. But I have a lot of compassion for her now. And then my dad, we just thought he was amazing. He was so great all of our lives. Everybody loved him. And then to find out, wow, there's a shock.
Are they still part of the church?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
That's very interesting.
Yep.
Wow.
Huh. It's such a layered story. It could be a black box theater play. Like, there's so many other forms it could take. A musical, not a musical. That's the one form it cannot take.
This is so interesting to me and very resonant as well, because my parents are super religious, but it's not Seventh-day Adventist, but evangelical. And in this day and age, evangelical, you just might as well.
Lots of similarities.
So anyway, they don't know I'm publishing any books whatsoever. And I did actually tell my dad, And it just kind of like went in one ear and out the other. And he's not old or senile or anything like that. I mean, he's
funny.
Older, but just didn't process. And frankly, I don't want to tell my mom for sure. My sister knows. So again, this is
very similar. Very similar.
She knows, she understands, but even though she and I don't get along that well, she also hasn't told my mom because we both know what's going to happen. She's going to tell me that I'm writing sinful things or something of that nature. And so this is great.
Your soul is lost
right now.
You know what? Those are very specific examples, but on a broader note, it's like people who aren't in the arts and they don't understand it. No matter how many times you explain it to them, they will not understand it. I've tried to explain to my family who are not in the arts. I'm like, oh yeah, we have a publishing company and we just, our first book is coming out. And they're like, oh, so you wrote it? I'm like, no. I own a publishing company and the book is coming out. It's like, well, how much money are you making from it? I'm like,
I know. It's always the money. It's always the money.
Yeah. Everyone turns into like their Italian or Jewish mother. Somehow.
Yep.
I don't know what it is. Something weird and evolutionary. Anyway, that's a side note, but
it's America.
It's the same the world over. So when you said your dad didn't really process it, I'm like, I don't think it's just because of like the traumatic experience. I think it's just parents being parents.
It's true. It's true. Right? It's very true.
Hey, I don't know. I'm a mom, and my son, my 16-year-old son, he just published his first video game that he created and everything. And I was like,
because you're in the arts.
The roof.
That's
I'm very proud of him. Extremely proud. Yeah. So
where is it available? This is a total tangent.
It's on Steam and stuff. Oh, okay. Yeah, it is. Yeah, he did like a horror game. So
is it sinful and against the evangelical church teaching?
And I'm like, right on, son, right on.
That's another format. Holy disobedience can't be a video game.
There you go.
Well, look, the book is wonderful. I am going to. I feel so stupid that I didn't finish it in full, but I'm nearing the. I recommend it to everybody. Truly, it's a lot to take in, so you got to kind of read it in chunks. And the way you wrote it, I think, was also brilliant. I kind of touched upon this before, but I wanted to expand upon it. It's so digestible. These little chapter chunks, right? These little vignettes, and I'm sure that was intentional, right?
Yeah.
Because you can't take pages and pages of like detail. You got to kind of like break it up and flash back and flash forward. You know what I mean? So I thought that was really well done. Was that an editor choice, or was that you had written the original draft like that?
That was pretty much the original draft. I definitely wrote it in chunks because I couldn't write long chunks either, so it just kind of organically developed that way. And then I loved it. I was so committed to it that way.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Holy Disobedience. It is from Lake Drive Books. Lake Drive Books.
Yeah.
Lake Drive. There's only one Lake Drive.
Like, hold it up there.
It came out. It just came out at the end of March.
Yeah,
it came out.
Awesome.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Pick it up now. Also listen to the audiobook, narrated by yours truly.
The author.
Yes.
Melissa Duge.
Not yours truly, as in not you, Matt.
Hers truly.
Hers truly.
By me,
I knew it when it came out. Imagine me narrating this memoir with my lingering cough in the background. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, poor Matt.
Thank you, Melissa. Any closing advice to the memoirists out there?
Oh my gosh. Yes. Write it as if no one's ever going to read it. And that's probably really trite advice, but like, don't censor yourself. Don't like start guessing who's going to read this and think it's horrible or whatever. Write it all, put it all down.
Not only is that good advice, but it's going to be the title of this episode. The Art of Writing It Like No One Will Ever Read It.
There you go. I love it.
The title.
Beautiful.
I was hoping to get a title before we closed out. All right. Thank you, Melissa.
Thank you so much, Melissa.
Thank you guys for having me.
Yes. Write the sequel. I'll have you back.
Oh,
delightful.
Awesome.
Yes. Can't wait.
All right. I'll
see you later. Wait. Don't go anywhere. This is the end of the recording.
This is the end of the recording. The music's going on.
Did I stop recording the show?
Am I getting at you? What have I ever yelled at you?
You tell me every episode, you're like, we should just kept recording. That's great stuff we're talking.
saintly.
Michelle's been around. She's seen more things than I have. So have you, Melissa, for that matter. But look.
Well, she's seen way more things than I have, but yes.
Right.
All of it's bad.